Hey, I'm back. My urban camouflage. Before we get into some of the stories about the people that it affects, let's take a look at some of the numbers. Divorce is big business. Make no bones about it. People make a profit off divorce. Someone's going to benefit, and it's usually not the divorcees or the children, for that matter. So you have to take into the account of how many people in the United States this does affect on a daily basis. The numbers are astronomical, but the problem is that you can't track these numbers because the United States does not do a good job of a statistical job of tracking the people that it affects. And how are you going to alleviate the problem if you don't know how many people it does affect? The lawyers know how many people it affects. It's their income. The courts know how many people it affects because it's their income. But we need to know as individuals, especially those that are contemplating marriage or have kids or so forth, we need to know what those numbers are and how we can minimize our chances of going through this entire process. And then we can, get down to business of trying to alleviate the problem. Again, we want to show you these numbers, and they're not to scare you. Um, these are facts. And I took most of these numbers off the 2012 census report. And I mean, these are available online. But I just wanted to give you guys a sense of who it does affect and how many people it affects in the United States. So, there are a lot of men and women in the United States that have or are in the process of going through divorce or separation. And when you don't have kids, it's pretty much who gets the dog or who gets the car. It's more about material property than about the separation and the reasons for why the separation and how fast people can move on. Now, divorcees make up one of the largest profit markets in the United States. Now, we're going to give you some statistics here shortly, but take from personal experience. Now, Professor Stanley at the University of Denver suggests that people consider the following statements. About 31% of a person's friends ages 35 to 54 who are married, engaged, or living together have already previously been married. And the rate of divorce per year per 1,000 people have been declining since 1980, but not that much. A young couple marrying for the first time today have a lifetime divorce risk of 40% unless current trends change significantly. So we're looking at a very large revenue stream to the business of divorce. Now let's look at some numbers. It's estimated there's somewhere around 1.2 million divorces in the United States annually. Yet, according to the Washington Post, the United States has done an uneven and often inadequate job in collecting divorce data over the decades. So now we're looking at 1.2 million, which might not seem like a lot in a country of around 319 million people. But let's break this down into some real numbers that we can understand. Now, remember, all these numbers that I'm about to present to you are ballpark figures since the statistical data is somewhat skewed based on the methods of collection. I got all my data from the U.S. Census report, so I had to do a little bit of estimating, but in regards to the numbers, it's similar to the numbers that you would see on the U.S. Census and in the documentary Divorce Court. So, looking at the population numbers, we have 248 million people over the age of 15 in the United States. Now, approximately 50% or 51% of those are married. Now, let's look at the divorce statistics or separated. We're looking at 25 million people that are divorced in the United States, another 5.6 million who are separated. And let's talk about the people who have kids probably going through baby mama or baby daddy drama. That's another 5.5 million. So we're looking at 36 million people in the United States that are divorced, separated, or with kids. That's 14.6 of the adult population. Now let's break this down a little bit further. Let's take the over 60 population. Let's put them off to the side because they're not at child rearing age. So we're talking about divorces at child rearing ages. So once you put those off to the side, you're looking at 9.1% of the adult population at child rearing ages that are divorced, separated, or single with kids. Now remember, these divorced or separated people might not have kids. Okay, so this 9.1 is a little bit high when we're talking about the family situation. But for a total number, 9.1 is the amount of people that are divorced or separated or with kids. So there's 17.5 million divorcees in the United States under the age of 60, which are at the child rearing ages. So now let's turn to the single family households. We have 11.6 million single family households. Now this is an extraordinary number because you figure that we only have 7 states in the United States with a higher population than that of single family households. Just to put it in perspective, New York City only has 8.4 million people. So that is a very large number. And when you take that number and try and put it into economic terms, you're looking at an extremely large demographic for the family court to deal with in the United States. Now let's look at the children that are involved. Uh, those that are divorced and separated with kids, it's 6 million people. Okay, so putting that into perspective, there are 1.3 million people in the United States Armed Forces and the 7 reserve components. So there's enough divorcees in the United States to build 3 U.S. militaries. 3. And looking at the number of children that are involved in divorce and separation, or um, dysfunctional families, as I call them, you have 6 million children of divorced and separated families, and then you have 5.5 million children of single parent homes that were never married. So we're looking at 11.6 million kids in the United States who do not have both parents in the household. So not looking at those that were never married and have children, the total people affected by divorce and separation is roughly about 12 million. That's what the numbers say, correct? No, wrong. We forgot one small detail. So we have 6 million divorced and separated with kids. You have to multiply that times 2 for the other partner. See, we were only counting for one partner, not the other. So multiply that times 2, you have 12 million. So the number of total people affected by divorce and separation, including the children and both parents, are 18 million people. Only California, Texas, New York, and Florida have a higher population than that number. So once again, What segment of the population is one of the largest profit markets in the United States? Now, some things you need to consider with these numbers. The people on second and third marriages do not claim divorce as separated statuses. So, when you're looking at the people affected by divorce, there are a substantial number that have been remarried. If we go back to what I was telling you about Professor Stanley, he said 31% of a person's friends aged 35 to 54 who are married or engaged cohabitating have previously been married. So that number goes up significantly when you're dealing with second and third marriages. So once again, we're looking at approximately 12 million people that are divorced in the United States with children. Um, let's take a look at the cost, because we're saying that this is a large demographic for the profit market in the United States. So we have to look at the cost of how much it costs for a divorce. So trying to estimate the cost of divorce is tough. Um, there's an estimated 1.2 million divorces annually. We have one source that estimates the divorce course costs averaging about $5,000. Another one estimates the cost at being about 20,000. So we're going to take it right in the middle. We're going to say that the average divorce will cost roughly $12,500. It's going to be more or less depending upon your situation. But we took the 1.2 million divorces and multiplied that times the average divorce cost times the two litigants. Now that's an astounding $30 billion a year. $30 billion annually. The family legal industry is a 30 billion a year industry. And that is just for divorce alone. Divorce is big business. Now, this doesn't account for the modification of child support, visitation, custody modifications, contempt charges, attorney per litem costs. Divorce Court estimates the legal industry generates about $50 billion a year in family law issues related to divorce. $50 billion a year. Now, once again, what is the largest, or one of the largest, demographics for profit making in the United States? Divorcees. And where's this money going? Well, it's not going to you, and it's surely not coming to me. It's going to attorneys, it's going to paralegals, it's going to the family courts, it's going to court costs, it's going everywhere that they don't need to be going. And why is this happening? Well, in my estimation, it's because the legal system allows it to happen. I'm sure a lot of you have watched the Jerry Springer show and remember how they were so wound up when the people got on stage to confront their lovers who cheated, or a female lover who was really a man. I mean, ready to fight, just jumping over chairs to get to that person to beat him to a bloody pulp. Well, there's a fluffer backstage. Somebody stirring the pot, instigating and egging those people on. Almost like giving them cocaine and wiring them up to go crazy on stage. Well, consider that your attorney. That's their job. Because without a fight, there is no money. Plain and simple. They say they're there to help, but to you, help is winning the fight. cause enough blood so the other person quits. And that's what an attorney believes their job is, and to make money while doing. As you see, this last slide is the epitome of what I think the family legal system is all about. Because if there is no stress, and if there is no animosity, there is no money. Attorneys are not getting return business. You can do a divorce for little or nothing. So tell me, if I'm getting a divorce and I have children but no property to divide, why every single attorney that I spoke to told me I needed to give them $5,000 retainer. $5,000 retainer. I had already paid the court for the initial divorce filing. What else is there? I mean, for you to type up a decree and a parenting plan? We both live in town, so it shouldn't be that hard to type up a 50-50 plan. $300, $500 max for maybe 4 hours worth of time. And they probably already charged you $50 just for the consultation. Yet, I spent over $22,000, and I'm still spending it. You tell me why. If you have any questions or comments, you can contact me at www.dismantlingoffamily@gmail.com, or just look for us on Facebook at The Legal Dismantling of Family. Again, thank you very much, and have a wonderful holiday season.